I never imagined that the lowest moment of my life would happen in a glass office overlooking downtown Chicago, the kind of office people dream about. My husband stood near the window, tailored suit, confident posture, so calm. The same man who once promised to protect me no matter what. Now he wouldn't even look at me. "You need to apologize," he said flatly. I blinked. Apologize for what? He sighed like I was exhausting. For making her uncomfortable. That's when I felt it, the sharp sting in my chest. Her. Not a colleague. Not an assistant. His girlfriend. "She feels threatened by you," he continued. "You're older. You're established. It intimidates her." I was 42 years old. I had helped build this company from a folding table in our apartment. I worked through miscarriages, hospital nights, unpaid years, while he chased investors and titles. And now I was being asked to apologize for existing. "She'll be here in 10 minutes, he added. "Just say you're sorry and keep the peace." Keep the peace. That phrase echoed in my mind as I stared at the skyline below. I thought about how many American women are told the same thing every day, at work, at home, in marriages that quietly erase them. I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. Because what my husband didn't know, what no one in that office knew, was that I had already lost everything once in my life. And when you've already survived rock bottom, you learn how to plan quietly. The door behind me opened. Her heels clicked against the floor. And in that moment, as I turned to face her, I made a decision that would change every single life in that room. But none of them realized it yet. She walked in like she owned the room. Red dress. Perfect makeup. The kind of confidence that comes from believing you're untouchable, because a powerful man told you so. My husband pulled out a chair for her. "Not for me. This is her," he said, finally looking at me. "Go ahead." Every nerve in my body screamed, "Don't do this." But I sat down anyway. Slowly. Carefully. Like someone walking into traffic on purpose. She smiled, but there was nothing warm about it. "So," she said, folding her arms, "you're the wife." Not his wife. Just the wife. Like an expired title. I swallowed. My voice stayed calm. Years in boardrooms taught me how to hide pain behind professionalism. "I'm sorry," I said, "if my presence or involvement in the company made you uncomfortable." She tilted her head, enjoying it. "It did. I just think boundaries are important. Especially when feelings are involved." My husband nodded in agreement. That was when something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, but enough to let the truth seep in. This wasn't about boundaries. This was about replacement. She leaned forward. "I mean, you still being around all the time? It's awkward. Don't you think it's time you step back? Step back. From the company I built. From the life I sacrificed for. From the marriage I thought meant loyalty." I glanced at my husband, searching for even a flicker of guilt. There was none. "Maybe she's right," he said. "You've been emotional lately." Emotional. That's what they call women when they're being erased. I stood up. My legs were shaking, but my voice didn't. "I understand," I said quietly. They both relaxed. And that's when I knew something powerful, something they never expected. They thought I was broken. They didn't realize I was observing. Because while they were focused on humiliation, I was remembering emails, board votes, private conversations, and one meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning. A meeting my husband didn't think I'd attend. As I walked out, the girlfriend laughed softly behind me. "Glad that's settled," she said. I smiled to myself. Because nothing was settled. This was only the beginning. The next morning I woke up before sunrise. Not because I couldn't sleep, but because clarity has a way of arriving when your heart finally stops begging to be chosen. I dressed in the same navy suit I wore when we landed our first major investor. The one my husband used to say made me look too intimidating. Good. When I walked into the boardroom at 8:07 a.m., the conversation stopped. 7 people sat around the table. All men. All powerful. All people who had watched me quietly carry this company for years. My husband wasn't there yet. "Good morning," I said, taking my seat. One of the board members, David, a gray-haired venture capitalist from Boston, cleared his throat. "We weren't sure you'd come. I built the operational framework you're reviewing today," I replied. "Why wouldn't I be here?" A few exchanged glances. Then David slid a folder across the table. Inside were numbers I knew by heart. Declining retention. HR complaints. Investor concerns about personal distractions at the executive level. And emails. Not printed accidentally. Printed intentionally. She's been accessing internal systems without clearance. Another board member said quietly. Using company resources. Representing herself as leadership. They were talking about her. My husband walked in mid-sentence. He froze when he saw me. "What's this?" he asked, forcing a laugh. David didn't smile. "This is an accountability discussion." For the first time in years, my husband didn't control the room. I spoke calmly. "I warned you about mixing personal relationships with corporate authority." His jaw tightened. "You're doing this out of spite." "No," I said. "I'm doing this out of responsibility." Silence. Then David turned to me. "We've reviewed your proposal." My heart pounded, but my face stayed still. "We'd like you to step into a newly expanded role. Chief Operating Officer. Full authority over internal governance." My husband stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Maybe he never had. As the meeting adjourned, he grabbed my arm. "You planned this." I looked him in the eye. "No," I said. "I survived it." And as I walked out, promotion pending, future shifting, I realized something that would stay with me forever. When people underestimate you, they give you room to change your life. That night, the house felt unfamiliar. The same modern kitchen. The same quiet luxury. But something was different, like the walls knew the truth before we did. My husband slammed the door behind him. "You embarrassed me," he snapped. "In front of the board." I took off my coat slowly. "You embarrassed yourself." He laughed bitterly. "You really think a title makes you powerful?" "No," I said. "But respect does." He stepped closer. "You've always needed control." That one hurt because for years I had given him everything but control. My time. My ideas. My body after loss. My silence. "What about her?" I asked. He stiffened. "She's upset." Of course she was. "She thought she'd be moving in by now," he added. "You've complicated things." That's when I felt it, the final thread snapping. I walked upstairs and opened the guest room closet. My suitcase was already there. Packed. Waiting. "I'm leaving," I said. He scoffed. "You won't. You need this life." I turned to face him. "I survived cancer at 35 with no insurance and no guarantees. I don't need you." For the first time, fear crossed his face. "You can't take everything from me," he said. "I'm not taking anything," I replied. "I'm taking myself." The next morning, his girlfriend showed up unannounced. Mascara streaked. Voice shaking. "He said you were stepping back," she cried. "That the company was ours." I didn't raise my voice. "He lied." She looked at him, realization crashing down. And in that moment I saw it clearly. He didn't love either of us. He loved control. As I closed the door behind me, suitcase in hand, I felt grief, but also relief. Because sometimes the hardest thing in life isn't leaving. It's staying where you're no longer seen. The divorce made headlines. CEO power couple splits amid internal shakeup. They speculated about infidelity, about ambition, about betrayal. No one talked about the quiet years, the unpaid labor, the women who help build empires and are written out of them. That part never trends. The courtroom smelled like old paper and old lies. My husband sat across from me, confident, until my lawyer slid the final document forward. A postnuptial agreement. Signed 8 years ago. Back when the company was fragile. When he was afraid of losing everything. When he needed my signature to secure a loan. It stated clearly, any executive role gained through marital influence would be subject to equitable reassignment. He had never read it carefully. I had. The judge didn't look surprised. By the end of the day, I retained my equity, my role, and my autonomy. He kept the title, but lost the trust of investors who don't tolerate chaos. 3 months later, the board asked me to lead a new division. 6 months later, I was mentoring young women who reminded me of myself, brilliant, exhausted, invisible. One of them asked me once, "How did you know when to leave?" I told her the truth. When apologizing for someone else's wrongdoing becomes your job, that's your sign. I still believe in love, but I believe more in self-respect. And here's the lesson I wish every woman watching this would remember. You don't have to destroy anyone to reclaim your life. You just have to stop shrinking to make them comfortable. Some losses look like endings. Mine was a beginning.